Hello, Nanny Carrot here. Well, I haven't made a video for ages, have I? Um, as you probably know, as I'm sure you do, the weather has been really bad. Maybe bad is not the right word, perhaps, but wet. That's a better word. Um, which makes it very difficult to get out and very difficult to do anything that you plan to do in the garden. And I had lots of plans, which I've started doing now. I'll show you one of the reasons why I couldn't get out. Now, as you can see, that's water, and it's water that's bubbling up from underground. So, as far as I understand, the chalk, if there's lots and lots of rain, becomes filled with water and it's pushed out through the underground aquifers, and they bubble up water to the surface. So, not only was there water laying on the surface, though that drains really quickly, but the water that was bubbling up was forming puddles and pools, and everything was underwater. And if you dug down, which I did to plant a tree, the water there, the hole there filled up with water. So it took quite a while for me to be able to get out and do anything in the garden. I'll show you what I'm doing at the moment though. So I'm putting in more raised beds. Now most of the water was in this area, and the higher bits weren't affected quite so much, though I think that the yellowing on the garlic is to do with too much water, and that seems to be going away now as the soil is drying, so it probably is. But at least the topsoil could stay dry, but down here it wasn't. So I'm putting in raised beds with the bricks that I found in next door's garden and this garden. Now, evidently, there were pigsties at the bottom of the gardens once upon a time, and there was one pigsty between two houses, and they would have a pig between them, which they would kill at Christmas, or at winter rather, for their food. And I've been told that that's where all these bricks come from. But rather than making square beds, I've been trying to put in round ones, and they will become more formed when I've finished. The reason I'm trying round ones because I think it might take less compost, and it is the compost and the fillings for the beds that cost the money. Obviously, the bricks didn't cost me anything because I found them, but the compost does, and so does topsoil. Now, I found from experience from the other beds that if you use just compost, which I make quite a bit of it, the level drops, and that means that you don't have a full bed, you just have soil that is nice and healthy. But I want the height higher. Yes. Anyway, so I needed to buy in bags of topsoil, which is a bit of a nuisance, but I think that once I've done that, then putting the compost on top is not going to make the soil levels go down. But I've also thought that because the beds are smaller, this is another thing that I was thinking. I don't know whether it's going to work. I can take topsoil from the middle bits and fill up the beds with. So there is quite a bit of topsoil around these areas that I might be able to use. And it doesn't matter if the paths are lower. In fact, if the paths are lower, then the beds will be higher and easier to reach as long as they've got plenty of topsoil in them. In these beds here, I'm going to put tomatoes, therefore it will be tomatoes round the edge. Not sure how that will work because I can't quite work out how to do the spacing. Because I use one of those online app things that tells me how far apart I can put my plants, and it doesn't cater for round beds. So I'm going to have to do a trial and error thing. And I'm thinking 5 tomatoes per bed, or 5 tomato plants rather per bed, but that's what I'll aim for. Now these are Kalettes, and they were a bit of a, even though they've got lots of food on them at the moment and they haven't finished, I won't take them out yet, there's a lot more food there. It was a bit of a disaster because the plants that I had, I'd covered over nicely and protected them from the cabbage white butterflies. But when I took the cover off, underneath, it was covered in aphids. So many that they flew onto you when you took the cover off, and it was horrible. So I took off a lot of the leaves and put them in water to get rid of the aphids, and before putting them in the compost heap, because they can live quite well, especially if it's a warm winter, and they'll just come back and do it again next year. So I'll have to rethink that one. But next year, of course, won't be the same as last year, because life isn't that simple that you can plan according to what happened last. I ran out of bricks, so that's been lost unless I find any, which is why there's little half bricks in this one. But I put potatoes in. I know it's a bit early, and I put cardboard on it at the moment just to protect it from the frost, because there's going to be a few nights of frost and the grass cuttings on top. But those are, see if that works on a round bed. The perpetual spinach is doing really well. That's an amazing stuff. Now in the pathway there, I'm going to take that soil and fill up the beds, I hope. That's the plan. Now the ones over here that I've just made, well, not just this minute, but recently, this one is made from bits of wood that I found and my next door neighbour gave me. And the soil that I've put in it comes from the bed at the side there, which I've dismantled because I have to rethink that because of the bindweed in there. And these two are pallet collars, which, as you can see by their shiny, bright colour, or matte bright colour rather than shiny, they are new. Pallet collars are relatively cheap. As I was saying, it's the stuff that goes in them that costs you the money, but once it's done, it should be done. So as you can see, I've been taking out the topsoil there and putting it in the beds. So that's my plan, and everything's working so far, but who knows what this year will bring. It's all very exciting, isn't it? So goodbye from Nanny Carrot, and I'll see you soon.